Some cruises look nothing like the vacation people thought they booked. The exact same itinerary can feel magical one month and deeply disappointing just weeks later. I'm talking about Caribbean cruises during hurricane season, Mediterranean ports packed with tourists, Alaska sailings after the wildlife disappears, and river cruises that quietly turn into bus tours. And the worst part? Most people don't realize any of this until after they've already spent thousands of dollars. So in this video, I'm going to show you the absolute best and worst months to cruise some of the world's most popular destinations. Because when it comes to cruising, timing doesn't just change the weather, it changes the entire experience. Let's start with a destination that tricks millions of travelers every year: the Caribbean. Most people assume late summer is the perfect time for a tropical cruise. In reality, August and September can be a complete trap. That's peak hurricane season. And I'm not talking about a quick tropical shower that disappears in 20 minutes. I'm talking about major storm systems that can completely reroute your itinerary, cancel ports without warning, and turn what was supposed to be a relaxing vacation into days of rough seas and gray skies. Imagine finally escaping winter in Chicago or New York, only to spend half your cruise seasick while the ship rocks back and forth through the Atlantic. Those open stretches of ocean between Florida and the islands can feel like a very expensive carnival ride. And here's what many first-time cruisers don't realize. Cruise lines can change itineraries during hurricane season without refunding you for missed ports. Those beautiful islands you booked the cruise for suddenly canceled because conditions aren't safe enough to dock. Even without a major storm, the heat can be exhausting. Temperatures climb into the 90s, humidity becomes intense, and stepping off the ship can feel like walking straight into a sauna. The Caribbean in September can look completely different from the brochures. Gray skies, strong winds, rough water, and empty beaches. But catch the Caribbean at the right time, and it feels like paradise. That's why the sweet spot is December through April. Warm sunshine, lower humidity, calm turquoise water, reliable itineraries. The beaches feel relaxing again instead of exhausting. And honestly, January and February might be the best months of all. The holiday crowds are gone, hurricane risk is extremely low, and the weather is close to perfect. One insider tip though: if you're cruising from East Coast ports like New York or Baltimore during winter, book a larger ship whenever possible. The Atlantic can still get rough before you reach the Caribbean, and bigger ships handle those swells much more comfortably. While the Caribbean becomes chaotic during hurricane season, the next destination turns into pure tourist overload. Let's talk about Mediterranean cruises, because this is where crowds become the real problem. Summer sounds like the obvious choice for a Mediterranean cruise. In reality, July and August can be some of the worst months to go. You dock in Dubrovnik or Santorini expecting quiet postcard views. And instead, 6 other cruise ships arrive the same morning. Cobblestone streets are packed shoulder to shoulder with tourists. Popular restaurants fill up fast. Lines form everywhere you go. And by early afternoon, the heat becomes exhausting. Cities like Rome, Athens, and Barcelona regularly push into the high 80s and 90s during peak summer. And Mediterranean port days are not relaxing beach walks. You're walking miles across hot pavement and ancient stone streets with only a few hours to experience places people wait their entire lives to see. Picture finally visiting Mykonos after saving up for years, but you end up wasting the afternoon searching for shade, waiting in lines, and trying to escape the heat with thousands of other exhausted tourists doing the exact same thing. By the time you get back on board, the day feels more draining than memorable. Winter brings a different kind of disappointment. November through February can mean gray skies, chilly rain, rough weather, and port towns that feel half asleep. Some restaurants and shops even shut down during the off-season, which removes a lot of the atmosphere people come to Europe for in the first place. But when the Mediterranean is good, it's incredible. That's why the real sweet spot is May, June, and especially September. Temperatures stay warm, crowds drop dramatically, and the entire experience feels calmer and far more enjoyable. For experienced cruisers who don't mind slightly cooler temperatures, October can also be an underrated time to sail the Mediterranean. And surprisingly, September cruises are often significantly cheaper than the exact same itinerary in July or August. Better weather, fewer crowds, lower prices. Honestly, that's the smartest way to experience the Mediterranean. But while the Mediterranean struggles with crowds and heat, the next destination has the exact opposite problem. Let's head somewhere completely different, Alaska. For many people, this is a true bucket list cruise, the kind of trip people dream about for years before finally booking it. And because of that, the month you choose matters here more than almost anywhere else. The month you really want to avoid is October, and the problem isn't just colder weather, it's that many of the things people go to Alaska for are already disappearing by then. The salmon run is over. Bears begin retreating deeper into the forest to prepare for hibernation. Most of the whales that filled Alaska's waters throughout the summer have already started migrating south. The wildlife that makes Alaska feel so alive slowly fades away. And that can feel surprisingly disappointing when you've been looking forward to this trip for years. October also turns colder, darker, and much wetter. Rain and fog roll into the fjords, the skies go gray, and Alaska loses that bright, dramatic beauty people imagine when they book. You can be standing on the deck of a beautiful ship surrounded by glaciers and massive mountains and still feel like you arrived too late. Like showing up to a concert after the headliner already left the stage. And because almost every Alaska excursion happens outdoors, bad weather doesn't just inconvenience you, it can wipe out your entire port day. That helicopter glacier tour you booked months ago? Gone. The whale watching excursion? Delayed. The bear viewing trip along the shoreline? Unavailable. By October, the famous long summer evenings are also gone, and with them, much of the dramatic light that makes Alaska look the way it does in every photo you've ever seen. But see Alaska in the right season, and it becomes unforgettable. The best window is June through early September. Wildlife is active, whales feed close to shore, and daylight stretches late into the evening. Interestingly, May is often one of the driest months, though wildlife activity is usually better later in the summer. The real insider move is late August into early September. Fewer crowds, beautiful early fall colors, lower prices, and even a small chance of seeing the northern lights. Just make sure you book excursions well before boarding. The best whale watching and glacier tours often sell out months in advance. Now, let's talk about Mexico cruises, because this is where timing can quietly turn a relaxing getaway into pure chaos. The tricky months for Mexico cruises are August, September, and April, and each one comes with a different problem. August and September bring the same hurricane season risks you see in the Caribbean. Storms can force itinerary changes, rougher seas make the sailing uncomfortable, and the heat along the Mexican coast becomes intense. Stepping off the ship in Cozumel in August can feel like walking into a steam room that somebody forgot to turn off. But April is the month that surprises people the most, because it often means spring break season. You board a Mexico cruise expecting a calm, relaxing getaway. Instead, the pool deck feels like a non-stop college party. Loud music all day. Crowded bars, packed hot tubs, people drinking from morning to midnight. The entire atmosphere shifts. And for many travelers over 50, that's not remotely the experience they had in mind. Maybe you pictured yourself quietly reading by the pool or relaxing in a quiet hot tub. Instead, it can feel like your vacation was replaced by somebody else's spring break trip. But when Mexico cruises are timed right, they're incredibly relaxing. The real sweet spot is November through March, when hurricane season is over, temperatures become far more comfortable, and the beaches along Mexico's Caribbean coast look exactly the way people imagine them. Calm water, warm sunshine, and clear blue skies. Veteran cruisers know a trick to beat the system here. Aim for mid-January through mid-February. Christmas travelers are gone, spring break hasn't started, and prices are often noticeably lower than December for almost the exact same experience. One cruise destination that's entirely about timing and scenery is Canada and New England. This is a quieter, more elegant kind of cruise, and the entire experience revolves around one thing: the fall foliage. The months you really want to avoid are August and November. August is too early, and November is too late. Both for the exact same reason: you'll miss the colors, and honestly, the colors are the whole point. People book these cruises for those iconic autumn landscapes, the hillsides of Maine, the coastal towns of Nova Scotia, the harbors of New Brunswick, all covered in deep reds, bright oranges, and golden leaves that almost look unreal in the sunlight. If you go too early in August, the scenery is still mostly green. Beautiful, sure, but not the version people travel here to see. Plus, it's still close enough to hurricane season that rough Atlantic weather can sometimes make the sailing surprisingly uncomfortable. November creates the opposite problem. By then, the leaves are mostly gone, temperatures drop fast, and many of those charming coastal towns start feeling cold, gray, and sleepy. Once autumn ends, the postcard version of this cruise disappears quickly. The window you're really aiming for is late September through early October. That's when the foliage usually peaks, and when it does, the scenery becomes genuinely breathtaking. Quiet harbor towns, calm water, hillsides completely covered in color. It's one of the most peaceful and visually stunning cruise experiences in North America. Experienced cruisers usually recommend booking a north to south itinerary, starting in places like Quebec City and sailing down toward Boston. Because you're traveling with the changing season, you'll often get much better foliage timing throughout the cruise. From autumn coastlines, we move into something colder, quieter, and visually stunning: the Norwegian Fjords. Here, daylight changes everything. The months you really want to avoid are October through April. During the colder months, Norway becomes darker, wetter, and much quieter. The fjords are still dramatic, but without the long daylight and powerful waterfalls, the experience loses a lot of the magic people imagine when they book this cruise. In deep winter, daylight becomes incredibly short. In some parts of Norway, the sun starts disappearing by mid-afternoon, meaning you can end up sailing through some of the most breathtaking scenery on Earth in near darkness. Imagine arriving in Geiranger Fjord in late October. The mountains are there, the cliffs are there, but the skies are gray, the waterfalls barely flow, and many of the small villages feel quiet and half-closed for the season. It's beautiful in its own way, but it's not the breathtaking version people dream about. But in summer, everything changes. The best time to experience the Norwegian fjords is June through early August, especially July. This is when Norway experiences the famous midnight sun, where daylight stretches late into the night and the scenery becomes almost surreal. At 11 o'clock at night, the sky can still glow gold over the water, while waterfalls crash down the cliffs around you. There's honestly nothing else quite like it in cruise travel. To truly elevate this specific trip, booking a private balcony is absolutely worth it. Some of the best moments happen late at night when the ship becomes quiet and the scenery feels almost completely still. Stepping away from the massive ocean liners, we have European river cruises. Here, the wrong season can change the trip completely. The most disappointing months are usually January and February. By then, the Christmas markets are gone, many riverside towns feel quieter and less festive, and the cozy atmosphere people imagine with European river cruising mostly disappears. But summer can create a completely different problem for river cruises. In recent years, extreme European heat waves have occasionally caused water levels on rivers like the Rhine and Danube to drop too low for normal sailing. When that happens, parts of your cruise can suddenly turn into long bus transfers instead. You pay for a relaxing 7-night river cruise through Europe, but end up spending hours on a motor coach because your ship can't safely continue the planned route. Instead of floating past castles and riverside villages from the deck, you're watching the scenery through a bus window. But book this trip in the proper season, and it feels magical. The best time to go is late November through mid-December during the famous Christmas market season. Cities like Vienna, Budapest, Cologne, and Strasbourg transform completely. Wooden stalls fill the town squares, lights glow across medieval streets, and the smell of mulled wine and roasted chestnuts drifts through the air. It feels less like a cruise and more like stepping inside a Christmas movie. And even though the weather is cold, it's usually much more comfortable than people expect if you dress properly. One insider tip: leave the dress shoes at home and bring comfortable walking shoes instead. The best parts of these Christmas market cruises happen on foot, walking across old cobblestone streets for hours at a time. The final destination on this list feels less like Earth and more like another planet entirely. We arrive at the absolute pinnacle of travel, Antarctica. This is the kind of trip people dream about for years, and almost everyone who goes says the same thing afterward. They wish they had done it sooner. And honestly, this isn't just another vacation. Antarctica is a serious financial and physical commitment, the kind of experience that stays with people for the rest of their lives. The cruise season only runs from November through March. Outside of that window, the sea ice closes in, conditions become too extreme, and expedition ships simply can't operate. Nature makes the decision for you, but even within the season, timing still matters. November is often the best time to go when the first expedition ships arrive after months of isolation. The snow feels untouched, penguin colonies begin coming alive again, Weddell seals rest across the ice, and the silence is unlike anything else on Earth. Now, I want to be honest with you. Antarctica is not a comfortable cruise. To get there, you have to cross the Drake Passage, one of the roughest stretches of ocean in the world. 2 days going down, 2 days back, and you will feel every wave. Bring motion sickness medication, expect rough moments, and understand this is not a luxury beach vacation. But once you arrive, none of that matters anymore. Standing in complete silence surrounded by glaciers and ice fields that look unreal, or watching penguins swim around your Zodiac boat like humans don't even exist. You understand why people describe Antarctica not as a vacation, but as one of the most unforgettable experiences of their lives. The smarter play is booking a smaller expedition ship whenever possible. Smaller vessels usually offer more landings, closer wildlife encounters, and a far more immersive experience once you reach Antarctica. One final thing. If you want lower prices, smaller crowds, and a more relaxed experience almost anywhere in the world, avoid major school holidays whenever possible. Shoulder season is usually where the best cruise experiences happen. Now I'm curious, which cruise destination is highest on your bucket list right now? Let me know in the comments. And if you're planning a cruise soon, watch this next video. It's packed with cruise hacks and insider tips most travelers learn too late.